What is up, ladies and gentlemen, butt diggers alike? It's your boy, Benjamin Baloney, and, well, you could say I'm kind of annoyed. I'm not really mad this time, I promise. I might be mad by the end of this video, though, and with YouTube's new rules when it comes to profanity in their videos, I just have a few things to say. Fuck! Fuck! Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Killing Floor 3. This is basically the equivalent of Payday 3. You might be wondering, well, what does that mean? Well, I'm here to talk to you about that today. This game generally disappointed a lot of people, and it's been kind of a hot topic on Steam. See, I originally recorded this video and had a positive opinion about this game, but unlike every other time I make a video, I gave it some more thought about how I feel about it, and I can say that I have changed my mind a little bit, justifiably. So, without further ado, let's talk more about it. This is everything about Killing Floor 3, the game that really should have stayed on the cutting room floor. Now, I know what you might be asking. What is a Killing Floor? Well, Killing Floor was originally a total conversion mod for the game Unreal Tournament 2004, which was released in 2005. The lead developer, Alex Quick, was first approached by Tripwire Interactive, known for games like Red Orchestra and Rising Storm, about porting Killing Floor to their game Red Orchestra Ostfront 1941-45. But Alex Quick did not follow through with this. Instead, a few years later, when their viewer base and player base started to dwindle, Quick contacted Tripwire again to negotiate the port to Red Orchestra and its distribution via Steam, similar to what Tripwire had already done with another Red Orchestra mod, Mare Nostrum, and then later the retail game. The mod had its fifth and final official update in July 2008 from Alex Quick and his team. The full Killing Floor version on Steam was announced in March 2009, with the assistance of the original mod crew team being available to actually help Tripwire. Tripwire actually wanted them to help out with this, and Tripwire would be the new developer and also the publisher. The game was released on May 14, 2009 after about 3 months of work by a crew of around 10 developers. A very small amount, but may I add a very, I guess you could say, impressive amount for a mod team. But a cross-promotion between Killing Floor and Team Fortress 2 was announced on Steam. It had its fair share of, crossovers with Steam games, as most of these games do, but it actually was a pretty popular game and actually got updates up till 2016, believe it or not. So, what did it get? Well, many reviewers really give it a 7 out of 10, meaning it's pretty good, and I'd say, if anything, don't trust the reviewers, trust the people. People love the first Killing Floor game. Its gritty gameplay, its soul-filled maps, its gore, and gameplay flow just makes everybody fucking cream, including myself. But, just like everything else, there was a sequel. Killing Floor 2! Yes, this is actually, this is kind of a trend. Will this be worse? Will this be better? Well, it ended up being better. But when did it start development? It started development around 2011. And it really just began pretty much like out of nowhere. They started development back in 2011 with just certain ideas, but ultimately they didn't really announce the game until 2014. They went from a team of 10 people to 50 developers, and they also changed the engine to use Unreal Engine 3. They considered developing it on Unreal 4, but they were against it because they didn't want to scrap their current progress because of the concerns that the game might not scale down to run on lower-end computers. The team launched the game on Steam's Early Access program to get feedback from players on weapons and perk balance. Kind of what they're doing right now, but in a much better way. They improved the animations and the gore system from the first game. And while I would love to talk about every single little thing here, let's just talk about the positives. This game was updated all to hell. It was way better than the first game. It had way better live support, and honestly, it had so much funny moments in it. So many goofy little guns and goofy maps with objectives that made the game really fun, and hit metal tracks, which, Killing Floor 1 had the same tracks, but Killing Floor 2 had a bunch of just completely original compositions by Synthetic, which is known for making music for this game, as well as metal tracks from a variety of artists. It actually got a record release, believe it or not, in 2015. It's actually one of the best soundtracks in gaming. I will argue with that. I will die on that hill. And it got updates, believe it or not, all the way to 2020. But we're at the third game. Let's talk more about Killing Floor 3. Killing Floor 3 had quite the release history. It got revealed in 2023 in August during Gamescom, and then it went through a few delays. Then it had a March release date, then it had a July 24th release date, which the July 24th release date actually stuck. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, one of their promised additions later on in the game is text chat. Let that sink in. But let's just talk more about the good of this game, because there are some good things in this game. Because honestly, I can't just start off with bad things, clearly. For starters, this game looks pretty good. It looks graphically good. The gore is good. The gameplay is just, you know, it's Killing Floor. I can't really say much. And not to mention that the models look absolutely beautiful. And in terms of enemy variety, everything from Killing Floor 2 is pretty much here, besides some of the bosses. The guns feel good to use, albeit some of them are a little bit too unusable and a little bit too bland for my taste, but this is what they were going for this game. Not to mention they expanded the lore a little bit with codex entries, and well, at least the class system is here with a huge skill tree for each class with throwables, gadgets, the whole 9 yards. They made the multi-tool more useful in this game, with they able to use to activate turrets, zip lines, and open armor crates, which I will admit is pretty good. It doesn't have to force you to go to the trader pod each time. You can argue that this is actually kind of bad because it makes it too easy, but I tend to disagree on that. Another thing that I'd like to say that is pretty good about this game are the map variety. You see, both Killing Floor games only released without about 3 to 5 maps, but Killing Floor 3 actually releases with 7 maps. Now, you might be asking yourself, are these maps good? Well, they are kind of good. I mean, there's tons of environmental things, little details that are sprinkled in there, but there is one glaring issue with the maps in this game, and that is just Soul. This is supposed to be a really realistic, or not really realistic, a really futuristic zombie game that is more focused on the technological side of it, but it makes it kind of bland in that regard. Albeit, maybe that's just my opinion. I've been playing a lot of future FPSs lately, and maybe it's just because I'm not too, I guess, interested in future kind of stuff anymore, but it definitely does get a little bit bland when everything is metal and sliding doors. But in its defense, Killing Floor 3 is said to be a little less goofy than, well, the monkey! With a more emphasis on realistic futuristic settings and futuristic weaponry, which is, well, where I start the negatives. First off, these maps, like I said, bland. There are 7 of them, but if you showed me a picture and put a gun to my head and said, hey, what map is this for? What map is this called? I would say just shoot me. Just fucking shoot me. Some of them are a little more distinct than others, but generally, I'd say most of these are pretty boring. I mean, come on. You start off with Convoy and you're like, wow, woods, a facility, Zed's coming out of nowhere. This is great. This looks great. I like the woods. The woods are great. And then you go to sewers, and I'd say sewers is the best map in this game, but all of them are kind of just whatever in the end. Another thing I'd like to say about this game, and let's just set the tone here. Choose your fighter. You pick British guy, born in Birmingham, lady with welding goggles, autism man with his headphones and sound, the Apex Legends looking bitch that's a marksman, Asian stereotype, or Baptiste from Overwatch 2. Well, those are all the characters in the game. Yeah, there's only 6. I wouldn't say the count is the problem with the characters in this game. They all look cool. They all have their different little styles, but I would say that for the majority of these characters, they're kind of lifeless. I mean, at least Foster's back in the game, which if you know anything about Killing Floor, why the fuck is he even still alive? But besides the characters, what is my main complaint about this system? Well, you might be thinking, oh, you could play any class on any character, right? Because that's how it was in Killing Floor 2. No, these are the classes. Foster's the commando, Devlin's the firebug, Luna's the marksman, Imran is the engineer, Nakata is the ninja, and Obi is the medic. That is the only characters you can play with those specific classes. Sure, you could use guns from other classes on these characters, but you don't get the bonuses. What if I wanted to play as Obi and I wanted to be a ninja? What if I wanted to go melee? I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to play as Nakata. And you could say you could use melee weapons as you know, Obi, but the reality of that is that you can, but you don't get the bonuses from the classes. That sucks. I don't know what it is with this game, but it's trying to be more of like a modern live service game. Remember how a few minutes ago I said this game promised text chat on its first season of the game and on its fucking roadmap? You know what they got actually working day one is a paid battle pass. Yes, because that's what we needed. We needed a paid battle pass before we get text chat, new difficulty settings, music, collectibles, and all this other shit. We needed a working battle pass day one with all these bland ass characters, these bland ass skins, and the very, very, very not fun bosses. You see, when they were making this game, I feel like they completely negated these bosses. There are only 3 bosses in the entire game, which, albeit, that's a pretty decent amount, considering that these bosses are pretty strong. However, they are too strong sometimes. 3 impalers are part of the boss ones, and these guys are basically impossible. We got our asses pounded during this entire boss fight segment, and they are impossible to kill unless like everybody just trains them around with this movement. Oh, actually, you know what? No, that's another thing we could talk about. Movement. You ever wanted to play a killing floor game and, you know, just have modern physics and modern movement physics? No, you don't need it, you said? Well, why don't you go slide around the map the entire time? Because they added completely like advanced movement to this game, which I don't get why. Maybe it was just like a oh, let's innovate on this kind of feature kind of thing, but it's kind of unnecessary, and it makes it so the game and its combat revolves around this because you're supposed to dodge out of the way. I'm playing a killing floor game. It's a wave shooter. I'm supposed to be sitting around having fun, not having to think about what fucking direction to fucking dodge in. And, well, maybe I'm just being negative about that, but I think the biggest problem I have with this game is that there's just nothing going for it. This game has a severe lack of content for a $40 price tag that I feel just isn't worth it. And maybe it'll improve, and I feel like it will improve in the future, but for the meantime, I cannot recommend this game. I cannot. It is not worth $40. And I know this was a shorter video, but this is just how it's going to be for now. Anyway, thank you for watching.